Mount Bamboutos, a one-time treasure of Africa, a biodiversity hotspot, a place where rare species such as cross-river gorillas and a host of others called home.
Mount Bamboutos was once one of the highest hotspots in terms of biodiversity, and so it is known for its rich biodiversity in the past, and also for its provision of water resources for the whole of the Mount Bamboutos area.
What has become of this biodiversity hotspot 100 years down memory lane?
The Mount Bamboutos ecosystem is almost completely degraded.
Over 90% of the area has been degraded, taking away 90% of its biodiversity.
What is behind the continuous degradation of Mount Bamboutos landscape?
This is due to the fact that the people are having some activities that led to the degradation of these mountain areas, such as intensive, uncontrolled agricultural practices. We have land use planning and a lack of governance structures, poor agricultural techniques, and we have the deforestation that is actually accentuated as far as the mountain area is concerned.
Owing to the continuous degradation of this important biodiversity hotspot, the Environment and Rural Development Foundation (ERUDEF), together with the International Tree Foundation (ITF), developed a project to reverse the unfortunate degradation of this mountain. The project, known as Bamboutos Initiative, was launched in August 2018. Bamboutos Initiative seeks to restore 35,000 hectares of the degraded Mount Bamboutos through the planting of 15 million trees in 15 years. It's been approximately 3 years since this great project was launched. What part has ERUDEF and her partners covered in the restoration drive of Mount Bamboutos? Maga Village, Wabani subdivision of the southwest region of Cameroon. Inhabitants of this village depend solely on agriculture for their livelihood. This agriculture is practiced principally on Maga segment of the Mount Bamboutos. This village produces tons and tons of Irish potatoes all year round, but the yields has been dropping considerably given the continuous degradation of Mount Bamboutos. The entry of Mount Bamboutos Initiative in Maga village in 2018 marked a new dawn for this village. Locals of this community now know the importance of tree planting and limiting activities which could catalyze the degradation of Mount Bamboutos.
In general, I can say that the project, people are very happy for this project. If you went on to see how people are interested for the project, you will know that the project is moving very well. People are very engaged.
We visited Maga's community forest, where trees planted back in 2019 are doing extremely well. Maga's community forest covers an area of about 103 hectares, all of which have been planted. Locals of this village are very committed to protecting the trees planted so far. They are very encouraged given the high rate of survival of the trees planted.
We are in Maga community forest. Here are some of the trees that we have planted in the community forest. Yes, just climbing on the community forest, you can take even 1 hour before you reach to the last point on the community forest. So this community forest, we have different types of trees planted in the community forest. We have prunus, we have mysopsis, we have mahogany, we have this carnelian and kola nut and all the rest. All the trees they are here in this community forest.
One of those who have benefited enormously from the Bamboutos Initiative in Maga village is Jefflin Tafo. The mother of 5 has planted agroforestry trees in one of her farmlands which she was cultivating Irish potatoes before the coming of Bamboutos Initiative to her village. She is particularly very concerned about Prunus africana, which she used to make a lot of money out of its exploitation before its disappearance from her village.
This farm is my farm. I have surrendered this farm to LDF. We are very glad for this village to see this tree coming back from this our village now. LDF has bring we good thing. We did not know that we will see this tree again because time way we will peel this tree, the back of this tree, come and sell in the market. We didn't know that we will see it again. For now, we have seen it. LDF has bring it back. Time LDF will bring this tree back.
From Maga village, we continue our journey to Fomenji village, still in Wabani subdivision of the southwest region of Cameroon. Inhabitants of this village, just like those of Maga village, depend solely on agriculture for their livelihood. We visited Fomenji community forest where the survival rate of trees planted is not only encouraging, but speaks of an assured future for generations to come. On daily basis, Madame Nimbo Ozilia walks around Fomenji community forest to check how the trees planted are doing.
I be happy because now my people for corner the promise. I thank the for the wonderful project where they don't bring us for Fomenji here. Yes, and then inside community forest, so see them they survive very well. Wonderful see them where they did Fomenji.
She is so passionate about the MBI project. According to her, the MBI project is a blessing to the present and future generations. We equally made another stop at Mongbi village, still in the southwest region of Cameroon. Inhabitants of this village are so engaged as far as the Bamboutos Initiative is concerned.
As members of VMC, would send news for members of the VMC to say they mobilize the people around the area because they already know what it means. So at each time where we will call the people, we will send news for the members of VMC. At any time, people they will gather. They help we to protect water from the valley and the catchment, mostly. And then again, it help the young farmer where they never be something for say the only living. At the tank, the deaf for partners say, may give you more effort, so that we plant more and more. So that will help we in future.
We paid a visit in one of Mongbi's degraded riparian forest that has been planted with water generating trees. Though floods swept away some of the trees that were planted in 2020, locals of this village wasted no time in replacing them.
Yeah, we are here today in Mongbi. This is an area where we are in a jungle quarter precisely. We are presently here at the banks of the riparian forest where trees were planted for restoration purposes. So as you can see, we have different tree species that were planted, amongst which we have Prunus africana, Raffia. We also have Intandropama angolensis, or otherwise the mahogany. So this riparian forest covers a distance of not less than 4 kilometers and close to 4,750 trees of different species have been planted in this riparian forest. So in the years to come, this area will be completely covered with a good canopy which will secure our riverbanks and prevent the water or the pressure from going down, and downstream, those living downstream will enjoy a high pressure water during the dry season.
Mombi Community Forest is also filled with trees of various species planted back in 2019. The survival rate of trees planted in this community forest is very encouraging. This is thanks to the commitment of Mombi's Village Forest Management Committee that has remained committed in protecting these trees.
This is one of the planted sites still here in Ajangem, Mombi. This area was planted in 2019, and as you can see, though grass has actually covered the place, but the areas where trees were planted are actually very visible.
Another area where we visited is Bamilo, a village in Babaju, West Region of Cameroon. We visited the principal water catchment of this village, where water generating trees have been planted. Mr. Tazo Yang is the CEO of Pede. He has been working with inhabitants of this area since the beginning of Bamboutos Initiative.
Nous sommes comme ça au captage de Bamelo, où on a planté environ 3500 arbres. Oui, comme vous constatez, il y a assez d'eau. Vous avez vu, le courant d'eau est très fort maintenant. Mais d'ici le mois de janvier, il n'y aura plus une goutte d'eau ici. Comme vous avez vu là, il y a beaucoup d'eau. Ici, et ça, c'est le pied, le captage principal de Bamelo. Cette eau-là, c'est cette eau qui ravitaille tout Bamelo, presque tout Babajou. Et c'est le captage où le chef Bamelo lui-même contrôle. On avait planté les arbres jusqu'à un certain niveau là où vous voyez là. Mais le propriétaire du champ a dit que non, ça c'est l'eau qui ravitaille tout Babajou. Il faut encore monter. C'est pour cela que vous avez vu comment on a encore monté, on a reboisé encore jusqu'en haut.
At the early stage of Bamboutos Initiative, farmers depended solely on MBI central nurseries at various project sites for seedlings. The situation now is different. Most of the farmers own their personal nurseries, unlike before. This is thanks to the numerous training they have received on setting up and managing nurseries.
Nous sommes ici dans ma pépinière que j'ai fait à travers Eurodef depuis que nous avons lancé le projet Initiative de Bamboutos. Vous voyez que bon, ici dedans, j'ai beaucoup de plants et à main, j'ai des plants que j'ai greffés. Donc j'ai déjà planté ça. J'espère que d'ici quelques 2 ans, je vais déjà récolter mes avocats. Et comme vous le voyez, nous remercions Eurodef à travers le projet Initiative Bamboutos.
Communities involved in this project are increasingly setting up community-managed nurseries, lessening the burden on MBI central nurseries. Bamboutos Initiative goes beyond tree planting. The business concept of ecosystem restoration is gradually being introduced.
That we're starting to use the concept of business concept for ecosystem restoration, which is similar to what we call the public-private partnerships. So we're looking at linking business communities, private sector companies, to become interested in investing in ecosystem restoration areas. This concept of linking the business companies and the governments and the communities will permit for that dynamic business to be developed based on tree planting, based on other forms of ecosystem restoration, in such a way that these farmers could be able to generate higher levels of incomes because of their involvement, because of their connections with the private sector companies interested in buying the products that are being generated from the forest plantations, the farm operations across the Mount Bamboutos.
If the Bamboutos Initiative is succeeding, it is obviously thanks to the active involvement of key stakeholders.
My impression about the Bamboutos Initiative, a project that is being carried out around the landscape of Mount Bamboutos, is a good one because so far from your report it shows that 377,000 and something trees have been planted within the southern section of the mountain, and a total surface area of about more than 2,000 has been restored. So since the launching of this project in 2018, I really knew that something good will come out from it, and you can see that the project has been carried out in collaboration with the community members, especially the women folk, where we realized that about more than 50% of the participants that are involved in this project were women. It's a good thing because women are mostly affected in situations like this where a forest area is degraded. We see that water catchment are drying off, are being destroyed. So implementation of this project should be encouraged by maybe other partners.
One of the stakeholders behind the day-to-day running of the MBI project is the village forest management committees. These committees are set up in communities to follow up Bamboutos Initiative related activities.
Si bien que nous sommes allés vers le captage, planter plusieurs espèces en plus de 3 jours depuis 2018. Depuis 2018, ça fait bientôt 2 ans aujourd'hui. Le projet couvre plus de 3 villages. Il y a le village en dehors de Bamelo, il y a Bawa et Balepo. Ils font la même chose que nous. Et puis on nous invite parfois à Balepo ou à Bawa. Nous vivons harmonieusement. Il n'y a pas de doute entre nous. Bon, on a déjà planté beaucoup de choses. Si bien que au bout de 2 ans, nous allons attendre de vous l'usine pour transformer les fruits.
The Bamboutos Initiative has different components. We have the biodiversity restoration component, we have the ecosystem restoration component, we have governance, we have sustainable agriculture, we have research and development, we have sustainable financing, and we have the governance component of the project. This is actually the 3rd year of this initiative that was funded by 3 sisters in the UK, that's funding the southwest section of the Mount Bamboutos landscape, and the Darwin Initiative funding the west and the northwest section of the initiative. So far for these 3 years, we have been able to achieve some significant result despite the crisis in the northwest and the southwest section of the landscape, that is the Anglophone crisis and recently the COVID-19 crisis. Now, talking about ecosystem restoration, for this year it has been a remarkable year where we were able to plant 323,000 trees, both agroforestry and native tree species, in order to restore about 229,000 hectares of degraded land. This included both agroforestry and native tree species planted in farmlands, community designated areas, riparian forest, and the water catchment areas. Looking at the biodiversity restoration component of the project, we had key targets, that's to secure key biodiversity targets, which include community forest and the biodiversity reserve, and other small biodiversity lands that are situated just around the Bamboutos Initiative, such as the Itofala Hill Wildlife Sanctuary. Here we have been able to designate some community lands where the communities have actually allocated for biodiversity conservation, and we are still looking forward to see how we can put in place the biodiversity reserve in Bamboutos. Though this is not something that we're going to achieve now, because it's a long-term vision of the project. In terms of governance, the project was able to put in place some governance structures. This included 9 village forest management committees where community members were able to actually come out in order to commit their services in order to restore the different areas in the landscape. And we were also able to put in place a mountain-wide structure, that is the Mount Bamboutos Forest Association, which is also helping a lot in order to contribute towards the sustainable management of the landscape. Now, in terms of looking at gender, and that's women and gender, we were able to identify all the barriers that are preventing women in the landscape to actually participate in the project. And so this led us to the development of an action plan, that's a gender action plan, which incorporates all the concerns of the women in order to increase their engagement in the project. Now, in terms of research and applied science, we started by carrying out baseline surveys in order to understand exactly how the landscape is and incorporate it into the project design. And now we are trying to also come up with different components of research which will help us to better understand the landscape and deepen our understanding in terms of biodiversity and the livelihoods of the local communities. Talking about the agricultural, that sustainable agriculture, here we have done quite a lot by engaging over 1,000 farmers, both men and women, in different aspects of diversified farming systems. And we have been able to train or to build the capacity of over 828 farmers in different aspects, such as establishment and management of small agroforestry nurseries. We have been able to train them on composting. We have been able to train them in agroforestry systems. We have been able to train them also on pegging and contour farming, and how they can actually carry out different, how they can cultivate non-timber forest products and fruit trees in the area. And so they are actually doing great as far as this particular domain is concerned, because this year we had farmers that are actually engaged in creating their own small agroforestry nurseries. So they did not only receive the training, but they were able to carry out activities on the ground by putting in place their small agroforestry nurseries, and they were also able to demonstrate the skills that they obtained as far as grafting is concerned. Nearly all the members that were trained in grafting are able to graft, and this can be seen in the number of grafted avocado seedlings that are in their various farms. So we think there are still a lot that we need to, there is still a lot that we need to do as far as the landscape is concerned. It is a 15-year initiative, and so all cannot be achieved during the first 3 years of the period. It has been a period of learning where we have gathered some lessons which we are going to integrate into the project design in order to better replicate good practices and ameliorate areas where we had a lot of challenges.
This year has been wonderful. I want to thank all our partners that were able to plant more trees this year, particularly in the Bamboutos Initiative landscape. So we've planted more trees this year compared to 2019, and this is thanks to the continuous support, both financial and technical, from the Darwin Initiative in the UK and Tree Sisters in the UK, which are our principal funders there. And also we want to thank Trees for the Future, which also finance some aspect of agroforestry in that landscape. And to wrap it all, we want to thank the International Tree Foundation for being so positive and so directional, and giving us all the technical support that we needed to get to this level. I want to thank you so much.
It is very true that we will never get to the Bamboutos we knew 100 years ago. But the effort put in today will always bring back the one-time biodiversity hotspot closer to what it was.
We're not in the process of trying to pretend that in 100 years' time or in 15 years' time, the state of biodiversity, the state of nature, the state of Bamboutos will be exactly what it was in 1910, in 1940. But we want to go nearer towards it while integrating the human factor that will never disappear.
The journey of 1,000 miles has just begun.